The doors of the courtroom open noisily, and the murmurs spread like an oncoming storm throughout the room. Sunlight spills from the high windows, casting a dance of motes in the air, catching upon the edges of the oiled wood benches. In walks Kody, his steps hesitant, as if every single step he takes carries with him the weight of the entire family. He stops close to the door, taking a deep breath, trying to collect himself. His usual confident gait was now gone, replaced by tense rigidity, the kind that talks in hushed tones, saying something is very wrong today. Christine sits nearest the front, her jaw tight, hands gripping the edge of her purse as if it were a lifeline. Her eyes flick to Robyn, some rows behind her, serene on the surface, but with a tension in her shoulders that belies the calm mask. Janelle and Meri are seated farther down, faces carefully neutral, but with lips a little too tight, a testament to frustration held inside for too long. The air hangs thickly with anticipation, the light scent of wood and coffee drawing in, almost suffocating. The judge enters, robes swaying with each step. The gavel taps once, a single, sharp crack that echoes and demands attention. "All rise," he commands. The family rises as one, the air vibrating with the collective energy of 5 people who have lived together for decades, but now face a courtroom where their lives will be laid bare. As everyone sits again, the clerk calls the case. The matter before the court: family dispute, Brown versus Brown. The words hang heavy, almost comical in their simplicity, yet everyone knows the storm behind them. Kody fidgets in his seat as the plaintiff's attorney gets up. "Your Honor, we are here today because this family, despite appearances, has fractured under years of secrecy, betrayal, and misunderstanding," she says, her voice calm and controlled, laced with an unmistakable edge. Each word falls like a drop of ice water, running down Kody's spine. You won't believe what's about to unfold next, and it's going to leave everyone in shock. Christine leans slightly forward, narrowing her eyes and saying something inaudible to her attorney. From across the room, Robyn immediately feels the unspoken tension and straightens her posture, crossing her arms as a subtle defensive shield. Janelle turns to Kody, an eyebrow arched in inquiry, as she asks silently, "Why now?" Meri twists her hands into various knots, restless energy barely contained. There is electricity in this room, every little action magnified, each glance a loaded weapon. The first witness is called forward, a close family friend who has been privy to the innermost Brown dynamics. She comes forward, and the courtroom grows quiet. Her voice shakes, then steadies as she reveals long occluded arguments, whispered secrets, and betrayals that had been buried beneath the veneer of one big, happy family. The words cut like lightning, exposing divisions nobody had dared speak out loud. Kody's hand twitches in his lap, a subtle but identifiable sign that even he hadn't anticipated the intensity of these revelations. Christine's lips mash into a thin line as memories flood her mind. Late nights filled with whispered arguments behind closed doors, promises broken, words cutting deeper than any gavel ever could. She fights back tears, not for the courtroom, but for the years of unseen battles finally surfacing here under harsh lights and public scrutiny. Meanwhile, Robyn shifts in her chair across the room, her mind running with strategies and recollections, and beneath it all, the faint but undeniable fear that her carefully maintained image might crack. The judge leans forward, eyes scanning the room as he senses the tension. "Let's proceed with caution," he warns, his tone firm but measured. "This is a serious matter, and we need clarity before emotion begins to overtake judgment." But clarity is impossible when the air is charged with decades of complex relationships, unresolved grudges, and hidden truths. Every spoken word seems to fuel an explosive reaction, and the courtroom knows it. The lawyers continue, shifting between calm questions and accusations. Every answer reveals more than facts. It exposes emotion, insecurities, and resentments that have been unsaid. Christine's voice sometimes breaks when recalling painful memories. Robyn's tone was measured but icy, slicing through the emotional haze with a sharp precision. Kody sat between them, caught in the crossfire, shifting uncomfortably with the knowledge that one misspoken word could ignite or dissipate the simmering storm. And then, out of nowhere, the plaintiff's attorney whips out Exhibit A. Letters, emails, and pictures no one was supposed to see. The room falls silent, a thick pause that hangs in the air, several heartbeats too long. All heads swivel toward the documents. A murmur of whispers spreads like wildfire. Secrets this family has kept for so many years are suddenly cast asunder in the harsh light of examination. Christine inhales sharply, clapping her hand over her mouth, while Robyn's lips compress further, a slight yet unmistakable indication of tension. The judge adjusts his glasses, peering down at the documents. "We will need to review these carefully," he says, but the weight of the evidence already hangs over the room like a storm cloud, heavy and threatening. Kody leans back, running a hand through his hair and exhaling slowly. He knows this is it, the moment that will define not only the courtroom outcome, but the very relationships he has struggled to manage for decades. The first session of testimonies continues. And every layer of each story peels back the veneer of civility from the family. The court reporter scribbles swiftly, capturing every word, every pause, every crack in the emotional armor of those in the room. Every revelation, however small, seems like a thunderclap. The tension mounts slowly as the suspense builds, promising so much more to come in the drama of days ahead. As the session approaches its first recess, the judge surveys the courtroom. "We'll stop here, but be aware, the case has only just begun. Further testimony may change what we think we know." A ripple runs through the room. Kody exhales, the first true flicker of doubt crossing his features. Christine turns to Robyn, her eyes speaking volumes of accusation. Janelle and Meri exchange fast, tight glances, their thoughts racing with what may yet come. And then, just as the gavel is about to strike, signaling recess, a figure enters the courtroom, a witness no one has expected. The door opens slowly, and all eyes turn. Their mere presence makes the air thrum with a new, electrifying tension. The storm already brewing inside this room has only just gathered force, promising a confrontation that will leave no one unscathed. The courtroom falls into a tense, almost suffocating silence as the unexpected witness takes the stand. Every head turns, every eye widening in shock and disbelief. Kody's hand tightens on the armrest of his chair, knuckles white, his mind racing through decades of secrets he thought were buried. The air feels heavier, thick with anticipation, like the silent still before a storm breaks. Christine's eyes dart between the witness and Kody, suspicion and fear warring with her need to remain composed. Robyn sits perfectly still, her lower lip traced by the faint bite of teeth betraying her anxiety. The witness clears their voice, and it trembles at the start, but grows a bit stronger with every uttered word. "I've watched this family for years," they start off, their eyes scanning the room. And there are truths that have been hidden, things no one was supposed to see, but they finally come to light. The room seems to shrink with the weight of his confession. The walls press in closer, the light harsher, exposing every nervous twitch, every suppressed emotion. Christine fidgets in her seat, her fingers playing with the strap of her purse. Memories flood back. Late-night arguments, whispered accusations, and moments when she had suspected betrayal but lacked proof. Her pulse quickens as the witness recounts incidents that hit far too close to home. Robyn's eyes narrow, her jaw tightening with barely restrained frustration. She knows full well that what is being revealed can take down the carefully crafted image she has worked so hard to maintain. Janelle and Meri exchange quick glances, silent questions hanging in the air, minds racing in an effort to anticipate the next revelation. The witness opens a folder and pulls out several photographs. These were taken without anyone knowing, they say, sliding them across the evidence table. The pictures are intimate, showing arguments, private moments, and clandestine interactions of the family members. Christine gasps softly, her hand flying to her mouth. Robyn's eyes harden as she examines the photographs, searching for context and meaning, while Kody leans back, tension coiling in his shoulders like a spring about to snap. The judge, sensing the escalation, leans forward, frowning slightly. "Counsel, proceed with caution," he advises. "We want to know the facts, not just emotional responses." But emotion has already seeped into the courtroom. Every whispered conversation, every glance, even every small gesture is given deeper meaning. The tension is palpable, electric, impossible to ignore. The plaintiff's attorney zeroes in on the perfect moment. "These pictures," she says in that clear, cutting tone, "point to secrecy and manipulation within this family. Patterns that have hurt people, not only personally, but also within the family unit." Christine's lips firm into a tight line as her brain whirls with anger and betrayal. Robyn stiffens in her seat. She is well aware that the attorney's words are for her as much as they are for Kody. Kody finally speaks, his voice low and uncertain. I never meant for it to go this far," he admits, eyes flicking between Christine and Robyn. "I tried to keep peace, to protect everyone, but things got out of control." His words hang in the air like a fragile bridge over turbulent waters. Every wife reacts differently. Christine's face hardens, her eyes glinting with hurt and defiance. Robyn's calm mask slips for a moment, revealing a flash of anger. Janelle's expression is a mix of fear and disbelief. Meri looks away, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. The witness continues, her voice without falter. "And there's more," she says. "Financial records, correspondence, and messages that show alliances and betrayals no one saw coming." She slides a set of papers across the table. The courtroom leans in collectively, curiosity and dread interlacing. The slight rustling of papers sounds louder than the softest whisper, a drumbeat of impending revelation. Christine reaches for a copy of the documents and scans them. Her face pales as she realizes the extent of what has been concealed. Robyn, on the other hand, reads the papers with a calculating gaze, reading beyond the words into intentions, motives, and consequences that may arise. Kody's breath catches in his throat as he realizes that even his prudent attempts to mediate and protect the family from exposure have gone catastrophically wrong. Specific confrontations start being recalled, and the atmosphere of the courtroom shifts further. The dialogue is sharp, charged, the words sluicing through the air. Christine, her voice barely audible at first, rises as she interrupts. "That's not how it happened. You're twisting it." Her indignation is met with calm yet firm responses from both the witness and the attorneys, further escalating the tension. Robyn leans forward, her hands folded neatly in her lap, a quiet storm contained but ready to erupt at any misstep. Kody shifts uncomfortably under the weight of responsibility that bears down upon him. He looks to each wife in turn, seeing mirrored back his own guilt, confusion, and fear. The judge watches intently. The play of emotion, the silent conflicts, the tension bubbling just below the ready-to-burst surface. The courtroom is not just the cold domain of the law anymore. It has become a stage for raw, honest emotion, a battlefield in which alliances and loyalties are brought into the unforgiving spotlight. With every word about yet another private argument, the air almost hums with tension. Tears well up in Christine's eyes as years of hurt surface in an instant. Robyn's jaw clenches, though there is a slight, perceptible tremble in the way she is fighting to keep herself together. Janelle clutches her hands together, digging her fingers into her palms as she fights her own feelings of betrayal and helplessness. Meri stares at the floor, her mind replaying the words, the accusations and truths that finally surface. The plaintiff's attorney steps closer to the jury, her voice steady but laced with determination. This family has been living with hidden resentments and secret betrayals for years. The question is not whether the truth exists, it's whether justice will finally acknowledge it. Every ear in the room strains to catch the words. Every heartbeat seems louder than the last. The subtle shift of chairs, the clearing of throats, the whispered gasps, all create a symphony of tension that grips the room like a vice. Kody is called to testify. He rises slowly, each movement deliberate, as if to command his own nerves. The moment he opens his mouth, the courtroom holds a collective breath. His voice, soft at first, carries decades of complicated relationships, unresolved conflicts, and unspoken truths. I thought I was doing what was best for everyone," he says, his eyes flicking briefly to each wife. "But I see now that my actions have caused pain I never intended." Sincerity is undeniable in his tone, yet it further increases tension. Christine leans sharply forward. "Pain? You call this pain?" she demands, her voice rising with frustration and hurt. "This is betrayal. Years of lies. And you expect us to accept it?" Her words reverberate across the courtroom, cutting through the otherwise hushed environment. Robyn stays seated, silent, but her eyes are sharp, watching Kody closely, measuring his remorse against the evidence laid bare in front of her. The witness nods slowly, confirming details as the attorneys press on, wrenching out every nuance, every contradiction, every carefully hidden motive. This is a marathon session, although each minute is carefully constructed to reveal another layer of secrecy. Janelle's hands shake slightly as she clings to the edge of the bench. Meri's chest rises and falls in quick succession, and Kody slumps under the invisible burden of responsibility. With every revelation, with each confession, with every break in the emotional armor of this family's carefully constructed mask, the courtroom seems to pulse. As the session nears its close, the judge leans forward. His calm voice carries an unspoken warning. "We will recess here. But understand this. The truths revealed today are only the beginning." The next session may very well redefine everything you believe about this family. Gasps rippled across the room as the weight of that statement settled on every witness, every attorney, every family member. Christine stares at Kody, eyes glistening with anger and heartbreak. Robyn's hands are folded, but her entire body is taut, coiled like a spring. Janelle exhales shakily. Meri gazes toward the floor, and Kody, caught in the crossfire of emotion, fear, and revelation, sits wordlessly, his mind racing. The room is charged, electrified, and nobody can tell what will happen when the proceedings resume. Just as the gavel is about to fall, signaling recess, the witness leans forward, eyes gleaming with an intensity that freezes everyone in place. "There's one final piece," they whisper. "Something no one in this courtroom has seen before, and it will change everything." The courtroom doors creak open once more, and the tension that had barely settled from the last session snaps back into focus. Every eye in the room is trained on the witness who promised the final piece of the puzzle, the secret that will shake the family to its core. Kody fidgets, his hands folded tightly in his lap, knuckles white, as he looks at each wife in turn, finding traces of anger, fear, and suspicion mirrored in their eyes. Christine's glare cuts through him like a knife. Robyn's calm exterior hides a simmering fury. Janelle's lips press together in restraint, and Meri's gaze drifts nervously toward the floor, avoiding confrontation, but not escaping it. And with that said, the witness reaches out and slides a small envelope across the table. The court reporter leans forward instinctively, sensing the magnitude of what is about to unfold. The judge adjusts his glasses and leans closer, speaking in a calm tone, yet with unmistakable weight. "Proceed carefully," he warns. "This may be pivotal evidence." The envelope opens slowly, and then the documents, photographs, and messages begin to reveal themselves, one big revelation after another that could change everything in this family. Kody sharply exhales, feeling a lump well up in his throat. He had an idea about some of these secrets, but to be witness to them being spread out in front of the court and everyone is a shock that rattles him to the core. Christine leans forward, her eyes scanning the documents in disbelief and rage. Robyn's hands are folded, but her eyes dart rapidly, calculating and analyzing every detail. The witness speaks in a steady yet cold voice. These documents prove alliances, betrayals, and decisions made behind closed doors, decisions that affected the entire family without their knowledge. Christine's chair creaks as she shifts forward, her anger and hurt making her movements sharp. "Kody," she demands, her voice trembling with emotion. "How could you let this happen? How could you let her," she points subtly toward Robyn, "manipulate everything behind my back?" Robyn's eyes flare, and she leans forward, her tone even but icy. "Manipulate? Christine, don't spin this. I did nothing to manipulate anything. Decisions were made jointly, and yes, at times Kody did things without full transparency, but don't make this all my fault. The delivery is measured, but the tension hidden beneath is palpable. The courtroom seems to press in on them, thick with accusations and unspoken emotions. Kody swallows hard, trying to mediate. "Please," he says, his voice low. "This isn't about blaming each other. We need to understand what happened and why. That's why we're here, to uncover the truth." But his words hardly land. Christine's hands quiver slightly as she clutches the edge of her chair. Janelle exhales sharply, frustration dancing across her features. Meri's eyes dart nervously between them all, caught in a storm she doesn't know how to navigate. The witness pulls out a photograph, carefully holding it up for the court to see. It's a candid shot, capturing an intimate family moment that on the surface appears so innocent. But the context is explosive. It hints at secret conversations, undisclosed decisions, and emotional manipulations that had remained hidden until now. Gasps ripple through the room. Christine's face is flushed red with the implications. Robyn's expression remains composed, but her eyes reveal the slightest flicker of fear. The attorney for the plaintiff takes another step closer, her voice methodical, cutting through the tense silence. Ladies and gentlemen, these documents and images show not just hidden truths, but active decisions made to influence family dynamics. Choices that were made with knowledge of the consequences, yet executed in secrecy. Her words land like blows, one after another, causing ripples of shock and anger. Christine's fists clench, and her jaw muscles clench visibly. Kody looks uncomfortable, aware that the perception of his actions is teetering on a knife's edge. Robyn raises her body slightly from her chair and readjusts, as if preparing for battle. "It's easy to point fingers now," she says, her voice firm. "But if we're talking about alliances, let's remember that everyone has been making choices for the family's survival. Nobody acted alone. Nobody except maybe the person accusing, without understanding the whole picture." Her words hang in the air, a veiled challenge that changes the dynamics of the courtroom. Christine slams her hand lightly against the table, a sharp sound in the high-ceilinged room. "Understand the picture? Robyn, you know as well as I do that this wasn't about survival. This was about control. And Kody, you let it happen." Her voice rises, emotional intensity breaking the fragile calm. The judge leans forward, a sharp glance halting the rising chaos. "Let's maintain decorum. You may show emotion, but temper is needed." Kody runs a hand through his hair, exhaling slowly, understanding that the fragile balance of alliances is beginning to crumble. Every wife is no longer simply reacting to the documents. They are reacting to each other, to perceived betrayals and shifting loyalties. Janelle clears her throat, her voice low, even firm. "We've all made mistakes," she says with measured words. "But airing them like this, it's tearing us apart publicly. Is that really the point?" Meri adds in a shaking voice, I just want to understand what's true. I can't take all this in at once." The witness cuts in, producing one final piece of evidence, a message chain amongst family members that clearly reveals clandestine alliances. Kody's eyes widen. Christine's mouth falls open in incredulous shock. Even Robyn's composure falters for the briefest moment before she regains control. Janelle leans back, shell-shocked, and Meri presses a hand to her chest as the weight of betrayal washes over her. The lawyers seize the moment, dissecting every line, every implication. Christine and Robyn exchange sharp glances. Every word seems to be a subtle jab at the other person, testing her defenses. Kody's attempts to referee the discussion are barely audible over the storm of rising emotions. And even the judge seems momentarily caught in the intensity of the unfolding drama. The courtroom has turned from a place of procedure to a battlefield of emotion, strategy, and unresolved history. Christine stands up suddenly, her chair scraping against the polished floor. "I can't believe this," she yells loudly, her eyes brimming with tears. Years of pretending that everything was all right, and all along the whole of you have been keeping it from me." Her raw voice trembles, as if in anger. Robyn easily leans forward, but is pointed. "Christine, you think I hid this for fun? You think Kody acted without thought? We're all navigating the same storm, just in different ways." Things get worse when the witness drops another bomb. A decision made by one wife, in secret, unknown to the rest of the family. It falls like a bombshell, and the room collectively recoils. Christine's eyes widen in disbelief. Robyn's lips tighten, and for a moment, a flicker of fear passes through her expression. Janelle shifts uneasily in her seat, while Meri's fingers clutch her notes so tightly, her knuckles turn white. Even Kody, the patriarch who has spent years trying to maintain balance, seems momentarily unmoored. An uncomfortable silence envelops the courtroom. No gavel, no legal decision could weigh as heavily as these revelations. Every thought, every gesture, every feeling in the room seems magnified, amplified, impossible to ignore. The alliances will no longer be implicit, but visible, fragile, and volatile. Kody gets up slowly, stepping forward to address the courtroom. "We've all made mistakes," he begins, his voice measured and carrying a slight tremor of vulnerability. "I never intended to hurt anybody. I only hoped to keep the family together. But it's clear that intentions aren't enough when secrets have built up for so long." His words resound, yet also expose the fractures that no apology can fully heal. The witnesses continue to testify, building upon the tension of previous testimonies. Christine and Robyn have quiet, yet increasingly heated exchanges, with words cutting, almost surgically precise. Janelle and Meri reply not with words, but with subtle yet telling gestures. An eye roll, the tight grasp of a purse, a barely heard sigh. The courtroom is alive with emotional electricity, each passing moment a spark that could well start the fuse for the next explosion. As the session nears its end, the judge looks over the courtroom, eyes scanning each family member. "We will recess for today," he announces, "but understand that the revelations here are far from over. When we return, we will continue to dissect alliances, intentions, and consequences. Prepare yourselves." Kody exhales slowly, his shoulders sagging under the weight of responsibility and guilt. Christine's hands slightly quiver as she folds them in her lap, her mind racing with betrayal and hurt feelings. Robyn is seated rigidly, a controlled storm, airly held inside. Janelle sharply exhales, frustration and fear mingling, while Meri's eyes flicker between everyone, silently wondering how much more this family can endure. And just as the gavel comes down to call for recess, the witness leans in, a glint of intensity in their eyes. "It is not over," he whispers. "The secrets still to come will shake this family far harder than what you have witnessed today." The session resumes, and the courtroom feels suffocating. The air is thick with anticipation. The same witness who ended the last session remains on the stand, eyes sharp, like an eagle scanning each family member, as if reading not just their words, but the silent tremors of emotion that ripple beneath the surface. Kody sits rigidly, his hands clenching on the arms of his chair, the knuckles white. Each breath he takes is measured, but tension coils through him like a tightly coiled spring ready to snap. Across the room, Christine leans forward, her face pale, her eyes glistening with a mixture of hurt, anger, and disbelief. Robyn sits with the poise of a woman who has long mastered control, yet even her clenched jaw betrays the stress that may erupt at any moment. The witness takes a deep breath and starts relating a private conversation that occurred several months ago, one that had been carefully kept away from the rest of the family. What you are about to hear, the witness warns, marks a turning point in understanding the choices made behind closed doors. These words were uttered, but they were never meant to be heard publicly. Christine digs her fingers into the edge of the bench, white-knuckled, as memories rush back. Late nights, filled with whispered arguments, accusations withheld, and moments of betrayal that had remained buried. Kody exhales shakily. I thought I was making the best decisions for everyone, he says in a quiet, shaking voice. I never meant to hurt anyone, but... His words falter as the weight of unspoken truths presses down on him. Robyn leans forward subtly, her eyes narrowed, gauging every nuance of his confession. Janelle shifts uneasily, hands folded tightly in her lap, while Meri's gaze falls to the floor, her chest rising and falling with quick, anxious breaths. The plaintiff's attorney, steps forward, her voice calm yet incisive. These words, these actions, have consequences, she says. Consequences that cannot be undone simply by intention. Decisions made in secrecy have caused real emotional damage, and the court must recognize that. Christine's face flushes crimson, tears brimming in her eyes. Emotional damage? She whispers bitterly, voice breaking. Try years of betrayal, lies, and manipulation. Her words resound through the room, breaking an almost hushed, sustained moment of silence. Robyn's voice is low, measured, but carries with it the weight of restrained emotion. Christine, this isn't about blaming one person, she says softly, precisely, cutting through the tension like a scalpel. We all made choices. Some were mistakes, but don't act like you're innocent in all of this. Christine flinches at the words, her eyes wide with anger. The room seems to vibrate with every unspoken accusation, with each subtle glance, and every tension-filled gesture. The witness leans forward and presents another piece of evidence, a journal filled with private reflections from Kody and each wife. Its pages are dog-eared, words scribbled in handwriting of different styles, emotions raw and unfiltered. Kody's hands shake ever so slightly as he recognizes his own writing, the reflections of a man trying to navigate a complex, unconventional family while struggling with guilt and responsibility. Christine's hands fly up to her face as her eyes scan lines of regret, frustration, and anger that she never thought would see the light of day. Robyn's eyes narrow as she studies the journal, searching for intent, strategy, and evidence of betrayal. The courtroom feels smaller with every revelation, the walls closing in as tension thickens. Christine rises abruptly, chair scraping against the polished floor, the sound sharp and jarring in the otherwise quiet space. I can't believe this, she cries, voice shaking, tears streaming down her face. Years of pretending everything was fine, and you've all been hiding the truth. Her words cut through the room, leaving a stunned silence in their wake. The calmness of Robyn's exterior does not change, but her body language does. Her shoulders tense and her fingers tighten around the edge of the bench. Christine, this isn't about hiding the truth for fun, she says in a quiet yet firm manner. We all made choices. Yes, Kody tried to mediate, but nobody is innocent here. This is about understanding, not just blame. Her gaze seeks and holds Christine's, the unspoken challenge hanging heavy in the air. Kody gets to his feet slowly, the weight of decades of family dynamics bearing down on him. I've tried to protect everybody, he says in a low voice, quivering with vulnerability. I thought I could navigate this family, but I see now that my choices have hurt the people I love the most. I never wanted this to happen. The confession echoes through the room. Christine's fists are clenched. Robyn's jaw is set tight, and Janelle exhales shakily, torn between empathy and frustration. Meri's eyes dart nervously from one to another, overwhelmed by the emotional intensity that's built up. He continues to testify, revealing another confrontation that had taken place behind closed doors. Arguments, emotional ultimatums, and secret alliances that had been forming. Every word cuts deeper, like a blow, feeding the tempest brewing within these walls. Christine's face reddens in anger, tears streaming down her face. "How could you do this?" she says, her voice rising, shaking with anger and heartbreak. "How could you betray us like this?" Robyn leans forward, her tone measured but firm. "Betray. Don't confuse decisions with betrayal," she counters. "We were all trying to survive in a situation that's far from simple. You think Kody acted alone. You think I acted alone. We're navigating the same storm, just from different angles." The barb stings, a subtle accusation wrapped in a calm exterior. Christine flinches, her mouth opening and closing in search of a retort that doesn't come. The lawyers pass every word, every nuance of behavior, and every subtle glance and gesture to make connections between past actions and current emotional fractures. Kody's face goes pale as he realizes the extent of what has been exposed. Alliances visibly shift. Christine and Robyn lock in a silent war of glances, Janelle and Meri reacting more passively, but no less emotionally affected. The courtroom feels like a pressure cooker, where just about the tiniest spark could start an emotional explosion. The judge is leaning forward, his voice calm but firm. "Let's keep order," he says, his eyes scanning the room. "Emotions will be natural, but let us not lose sight of the evidence and testimony." His words do little to temper the storm. The family's emotions have taken on a life of their own, moving beyond control each moment, raw, unfiltered, and charged with intensity. Kody exhales slowly, trying to center himself. "I made mistakes," he says, his voice soft, holding the weight of regret. "I never meant for any of this to hurt you. I wanted to protect everyone, but I see now that my attempts at mediation have failed." His words are impactful, but Christine's glare pierces him like a knife. An amalgamation of anger, hurt, and disbelief. Robyn narrows her eyes just a tad, lips clamped tight, a subtle acceptance that perhaps Kody's words will not bridge the fractures. The witness produces one final piece of evidence, a recorded conversation, private, unedited, and raw. Their voices fill the room, every pause, every inflection, every suppressed emotion caught just right. Christine covers her face with her hands, sobbing softly, her composure cracking, as a barely perceptible shiver runs through Robyn's body. Janelle's hands twist in her lap, her eyes wide with disbelief. A sharp exhalation from Meri. Her fingers tremble with nervousness as she clutches at the bench. Kody sits, frozen, hearing the evidence of his failures and misjudgments, played back in a form that cannot be ignored or denied. The courtroom feels like it's holding its breath. Every detail, every word, every confession reverberates through the high ceilings. Alliances have shifted, betrayals are exposed, and emotional defenses crumble under the relentless pressure of truth. The family, once united in the fragile bonds of trust, now stands fractured, vulnerable, and raw in front of the world. The judge finally taps the gavel lightly, signaling a pause. "We will recess," he says, eyes sweeping over every member of the family. "But understand this. The emotional revelations today are only part of the story. When we return, expect deeper confrontations, further truths, and decisions that may change everything." Christine leans back and wipes her eyes with trembling hands. Robyn is rigid, her storm barely contained. Janelle lets out a shaky breath as her shoulders tense up. Meri's gaze stays on the floor as her mind whirs with the revelation. Kody just sits in silence, his face etched with a mixture of guilt, fear, and regret. Unspoken words weigh heavily in this courtroom. The lingering tension promising that the storm is far from over. And just as the gavel falls, the witness leans forward, a glint of intensity in their eyes. "The next revelations," he murmurs, "will test this family in ways they never imagined. Brace yourselves." The air is thick with anticipation as the session begins in the courtroom. Everyone's gaze follows Kody as he rises to his feet, taking calculated steps toward the witness stand. Gone is his usual poise. The weight of decades of unresolved tension within his family bears down on him. Each step clangs against the highly waxed wooden floors, punctuating the thick silence settling in the room. Christine sits front and center, leaning forward while narrowing her eyes. Anxiety and foreboding dance on her face. Robyn sits upright, hands correctly placed in her lap, but her eyes betray the tiniest flicker of doubt. Janelle and Meri exchange unease. Both feel that what happens here will dictate the family's path from this day forward. Kody places both hands on the witness stand, inhaling slowly before he starts talking. I've spent years trying to hold this family together," he says in a low, steady tone. "Trying to mediate, to protect, to make sure that everyone felt seen and heard. But I see now that my actions, or my inactions, have caused pain I never intended." His eyes sweep across the room, landing briefly on each wife, lingering longest on Christine and Robyn. The courtroom is silent, every listener hanging on his words. The plaintiff's attorney steps forward, poised and deliberate. "Mr. Brown, can you explain why certain decisions were made without the knowledge or consent of other family members?" she asks, her voice calm but incisive. Kody takes a deep breath and looks down at the documents laid out in front of him. "Some decisions," he says with measured deliberation, "were made in an attempt to prevent conflict. I thought I was protecting everyone, but I can see that secrecy breeds mistrust." His voice catches slightly, betraying the inner turmoil building for years. Christine's eyes flash with anger. "Protecting us?" she screams, rising abruptly. "You call this protecting us? You've been lying to us for years, Kody, pretending everything is fine while the reality is falling apart." Her voice shakes with emotion, raw from feelings of betrayal and anguish. Robyn leans forward slightly, her mask of calm falling for just one brief second as she lets out a sharp breath. "Christine," she says softly, "this isn't about blame. This is about perspective. We all made choices, Kody included." Kody nods slowly, acknowledging the tension. "I realize now that my attempts to balance everyone's needs have often left people feeling unheard, betrayed, or ignored. I never intended for this to happen, but I understand that intention is not enough." He pauses, letting his words settle into the courtroom, the weight of decades of hidden emotion pressing down on every witness and attorney. The witness from previous sessions is recalled, this time with one last piece of evidence, a recorded conversation between Kody and one of his wives. It is played, and the room fills with unfiltered, uncut voices of family members. All the inflections, all the silences, and all the unsaid emotions, most of them are acknowledged. Christine covers her face and sobs silently. Robyn's fingers dig deeper into the chair's edge, where a minor quiver runs through her. Janelle leans back, absorbing the weight of the revelation, while Meri's eyes widen, her chest heaving rapidly with the intensity of what she is hearing. The courtroom is silent as the recording ends. Kody exhales slowly, looking down at the stand. I see now that what I thought were small decisions meant to protect actually caused harm, he says, his voice low but carrying the weight of sincerity. I failed to consider the emotional impact of secrecy. I failed to communicate openly, and for that, I am deeply sorry. His apology hangs in the air, heavy and potent, touching some hearts but not all. Christine's jaw tightens, Robyn's expression remains controlled, but the tension in her shoulders is undeniable. The lawyers press their questions, slowly extracting every nuance of Kody's behavior, every missed opportunity, every unspoken truth. With each answer, another layer is revealed, manifesting how loyalty, love, and fear intertwine to create a web of misunderstanding and betrayal. Christine's voice cracks as she recounts moments when she felt excluded or lied to. Robyn's tone is measured, though her eyes glint with emotion, defending her point of view. Janelle and Meri take it back in with subtle gestures, uneasy seat shifts, firmly gripped documents, or sharp exhalations. With each reaction, the tension of the room builds. The plaintiff's attorney holds up a set of documents, presenting them to the court. These messages, emails, and notes show not only the decisions made, but the intentions behind them. She explains. Mr. Brown, can you clarify why certain communication was withheld? Kody looks down, swallowing hard. I thought I was preventing arguments, preventing pain, but in reality, I was creating mistrust. I see that now. I understand the consequences of my choices. Christine rises, her sharp voice trembling. Consequences? Kody, this isn't about consequences. This is about years of manipulation, secrecy, and emotional neglect. How could you say you didn't know it would cause damage? Robyn leans forward, calm but pointed. Christine, no one here acted with malicious intent. We all made mistakes navigating a complex family dynamic, Kody included. Christine winces from the words, but does not respond straight away, the weight of emotion rendering her momentarily mute. Another set of documents is provided by the witness, this time financial records showing the decisions Kody made unilaterally, decisions that affected the family's shared assets and trust. Gasps ripple through the courtroom as evidence is revealed. Christine flushes red with anger. Robyn narrows her eyes in concentration. Janelle exhales sharply, while Meri's fingers twitch nervously around the edge of the bench. It feels like the room is alive with tension, where every revelation is another spark that goes off in an already charged room. The judge leans forward, tone firm, but delivered without raising his voice. The court recognizes the weight of these revelations, he says. It is clear that decisions made, intentionally or not, have impacted this family in profound ways. The testimony will continue, but let this be a reminder. The consequences of action and inaction are equally powerful. His words speak volumes as he ensures the solemnity of the moment. Kody takes a deep breath, trying to center himself amidst the emotional storm. I know I've let you down, he says, voice steadying. I can't take back the past, but I can own it and learn from it and try to move forward. That's all I can do now. The room falls silent, the weight of his words settling over everyone like a thick fog. Christine's tears flow unabashedly. Robyn's shoulders tighten, Janelle exhales shakily, and Meri's gaze remains fixed on Kody, processing the apology and the evidence laid bare before them. The witness introduces one final bombshell. a secret message between two of the wives that had exposed alliances and emotional manipulations that no one outside the family had known. The room gasped collectively. Christine's face goes white, her hands shaking as she clenches onto the edge of the bench. Robyn's calm exterior briefly cracks as a slight quiver runs through her hands. Janelle shifts uncomfortably, while Meri's eyes widen, her heart racing. Even Kody leans back in surprise at the depth of secrets he had not fully understood. The attorney for the plaintiff stands up and says in a firm yet deliberate voice, "This evidence proves the complexity of family dynamics and the emotional repercussions from secrets and hidden agendas. Mr. Brown, are you ready to take responsibility for your role in these events?" Kody swallowed hard, his eyes scanning each wife in turn. "Yes," he said simply. "I accept responsibility. I know my actions, or lack thereof, have contributed to the hurt, confusion, and mistrust in this family. And I am committed to doing what I can to repair it." Christine's tears continued to well up and spill down her cheeks, her voice breaking as she whispered, I don't know if I'll ever be able to trust again." Robyn scooted back, silently acknowledging the pain, but maintaining her composure. Janelle exhaled slowly, trying to comprehend the emotional weight of what had been revealed. Meri's hands were clasped tightly together, knuckles white, as she contemplated how the family could rebuild, or if they could at all. The judge lightly raps the gavel, indicating the end of the session. "We will recess," he says, "but understand this. What has been brought out today will have ramifications. The decisions made in this courtroom will be heard long after leaving these doors." Kody exhales a sigh, slumping slightly in his chair, worn out by the emotional intensity of the testimony. Christine wipes her tears, her face a mix of anger and sorrow. Robyn sits quietly, jaw clenched, silently processing. Janelle exhales shakily, while Meri looks down at the floor, heart racing from the emotional storm. And just as the gavel falls, the witness leans forward, voice low but intense. "The revelations today are only the beginning. What happens next will define the family forever."